I'm Keith Olbermann, and this is The Resistance. You may not know the difference between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Penguins from Batman, and the only thing Donald Trump may know about them is that they play a sport where one of the positions is called right wing. But at this moment they are, or nearly are, the centerpieces in the lack of culture war between America's would-be dictator and those of us who, like democracy. The Penguins have mastered this continent's most grueling and demanding sports season and have won the greatest trophy in sports, the Stanley Cup, in back-to-back years. But right now, they have in fact become the Pittsburgh political pawns. Last Saturday, apparently having just learned that the basketball champion Golden State Warriors had refused to go to the inevitably painful, but by now traditional White House championship photo op, Trump pretended he was refusing to see them. Exactly 26 hours later, the Penguins tweeted out a link to a statement about their planned visit to the White House, to what used to be the symbol of American democracy until Trump came along. The Pittsburgh Penguins respect the institution of the office of the president and the long tradition of championship teams visiting the White House. We attended White House ceremonies after previous championships, touring the historic building and visiting briefly with Presidents George H.W. Bush and Barack Obama, and have accepted an invitation to attend again this year. Any agreement or disagreement with a president's politics, policies, or agenda can be expressed in other ways. However, we very much respect the rights of other individuals and groups to express themselves as they see fit. As an ardent hockey fan whose mother saw the New York Rangers win a game in the Stanley Cup final of 1940, and who laments the sport's relative obscurity here, and who has for 50 years found among hockey people some of the most naturally understanding and inclusive and empathetic of all people, I know what the Penguins were trying to do here. Among other things, they might be going to the White House as soon as October 11th, so they were trying to get out in front of trouble. But anybody with a little more sophistication could have told them what would necessarily happen next. Trump panicking over the instantaneous repudiation of his National Football League boycott idea, in at least two cases by his buddies, Bob Kraft and Shad Khan, NFL owners who had reportedly donated millions to his inauguration committee. Trump, looking for a fight after the Warriors humiliated him, picked up the Penguins' sweet little gesture of a note and began to hit people over the head with it. Pleased to inform that the champion Pittsburgh Penguins of the NHL will be joining me at the White House for ceremony. Great team. First of all, it's pleased with a D, moron. Secondly, the Penguins are now Trump's political pawns. They're nice little apolitical, excuse us, most of us are Canadian, any agreement or disagreement with the president's politics, policies, or agenda can be expressed in other ways statement. That has been erased. They are now political pawns, the Pittsburgh political pawns. Their trip to the White House is now agreement, not disagreement, with this president's politics, policies, and agenda. His hatreds are now the Penguins' hatreds. His racisms are now the Penguins' racisms. His lunacies are now the Penguins' lunacies. But it's worse than that. At the start of the month, the National Hockey League and its players' union made a big deal out of something new called Hockey's Declaration of Principles. It is all good stuff about ideals and character and life skills, and there's nothing about just keep your stick on the puck and don't get down on your luck. And then there's the last of the principles, number 8. All hockey programs should provide a safe, positive, and inclusive environment for players and families, regardless of race, color, religion, national origin, gender, age, disability, sexual orientation, and socioeconomic status. Simply put, hockey is for everyone. Bravo. Unfortunately, Penguins, Donald Trump is not for everyone. If there were ever a time you do not want to go see this guy, it's when your entire sport has just stood up for inclusion and against discrimination for race, color, religion, national origin, or anything else. And the President of the United States has just described a bunch of African-American athletes by screaming, quote, "Get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired, he's fired!" The Penguins are captained by Sidney Crosby and owned by a former star player named Mario Lemieux, and the two of them are legendary for their leadership. And neither Crosby nor Lemieux is showing any leadership right now, nor is the National Hockey League, nor its Commissioner Gary Bettman. The Penguins can't go. I don't care if they have to claim they can't find the Stanley Cup, and they will show up when and if they locate it. I don't care if they say the coach has canceled the trip and demanded a 16-hour practice instead that day. NHL coaches are always doing something like that anyway. The Pittsburgh Penguins must now decline the White House invitation or render hockey's new Declaration of Principles laughingly meaningless. There's nothing in there about athletes being used by a crazy political figure in a desperate crisis of his own making and being paraded out in front of a camera like they are all Dennis Rodman visiting Kim Jong-un. There's nothing in there about politeness and the hockey desire to please everybody that requires you to become political hostages or the Pittsburgh political props or the Pittsburgh political pawns or the Pittsburgh patsies. Resist. Remove. Peace.